Good evening, and we are at the U.S. Coast Guard Air Station, Miami. This is the closest to the Bahamas, and it is the staging point for a massive search and rescue operation. We have also just learned that the official death toll has risen to 20, but it is expected to rise even further. And today we flew with the Guard over the islands hit hardest by Dorian. What we saw was incredible. Home after home, torn apart by one of the most powerful Atlantic storms on record. In fact, the UN says tonight 70,000 people are in immediate need of aid. We also spoke with survivors who are telling some harrowing stories. Tonight, Dorian is lashing the coastline of Florida and Georgia. We're talking about top winds that have increased to 110 miles an hour. Its center will approach South Carolina tonight, North Carolina tomorrow night, all with hurricane force winds. And South Carolina's governor has ordered the entire coast evacuated. We're talking about 800,000 people in all. Storm surges could reach 8 feet in some places. Warnings now extend northward to Hampton Roads, Virginia. And we have a team of correspondents from the Bahamas to the Georgia and Carolina coasts. But we're going to begin with what we saw in the hurricane zone in the Bahamas.
We're the closest fixed-wing aviation to the Bahamas.
We traveled with Coast Guard Lieutenants Jillian Harner and Juliana White aboard an HC-144 Casa cargo plane to see the devastation firsthand. It was quickly obvious these fragile islands were no match for Dorian's Category 5 fury. The landscape resembled a bomb site.
This is our first look at Marsh Harbor in the Abaco Islands. Flat, completely wiped out. You can see all the beach erosion too. See the change in the color in the water? That's how much of the beach was washed out.
This is where Dorian unleashed most of its wrath and rendered this place unrecognizable.
It's one of the saddest things. This is one of the most beautiful places in the world, and yet nature's fury has decimated it.
Its people desperate. Not only was the U.S. Coast Guard in rescue mode, but Customs and Border Patrol is now also helping out.
We managed to get up on a dryer, turned sideways, and we managed to stand on there. This is my wife over here.
At the chaotic staging area for rescue and relief operations in Nassau, we met Robert and Phyllis Cornea, who've lived in Abaco for more than 50 years. They've been homeless since Sunday.
All the main buildings gone. They're gone. Everything is gone. Only concrete structure.
How did you get rescued?
The good Lord, that's all I can tell you.
The good Lord.
Take a picture of me, this is all I have left. What you see me is.
That's all you have left.
I've been in this 4 days.
The Corneas lost their home.
Right now I feel torn apart.
Adrian Farrington lost his son.
I still can see my son getting dragged across the roof, reaching at me.
Farrington told my colleague Nikki Batiste he thought he'd lifted his 5-year-old son to safety on the roof of his house, only to see him washed away in the surging floodwaters.
If he be rescued, I praise the Lord. But for the surge, what I saw when I lose him, anything could happen. You had sharks swimming in the water. Anything could happen.
We also met Coast Guard Lieutenant Randall Reinison, who rescued a woman on Grand Bahama who said her family is missing too.
Have you ever seen anything like that out there before?
Not this type of destruction, but we fly over the islands a lot, and this is definitely the worst I've seen them.
Many of the pilots that we spoke to tell us that when the waters recede, the conditions will only get worse. And we're going to hear more from those 2 lieutenants who flew us over the Bahamas later in this broadcast. Our David Megno was able to get into Treasure Cay on Abaco Island. It was absolutely decimated by Dorian, and David was able to speak with some of the storm's survivors.